Community Board report to Council, Ali Jones and Christine Lane. Morning.
Good morning. Hi. Alrighty. Seems a bit old news now, but I guess it's it's once a month we come back and talk to you. But one of the major things in our ward in the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks or so is the placement of the Lions transitional, well, it was the transitional St Albans Community Centre in McFarlane Park, and there was a great celebration with a large number of people there, community board members, Andrew Turner. We were very grateful to have council representation there as well, with our councillors Pauline Cotter and Mike Davidson, other board members, and of course the Lions representatives. And the thing about the Lions there, they were having an international conference in Christchurch, so it was fantastic to have them there. The Kids First Kindergarten entertained us and were extremely excited about the size of the cake, and all had a piece afterwards, so that was awesome. The Papanui Bush at Bridgestone Reserve, this is one of our major projects at the moment in the ward. We are currently looking at we are going to reinstate the Papanui Bush. The area is known as Bridgestone Reserve. It's on Langdons Road next to the railway line, if you can picture that there. There are 2 plantings planned, 1,100 square metres and 1,000 square metres. We have some funding for the first but not for the second. And we will be putting in a bid through the LTP for that. This is a board-led project with many in the community involved, which is fantastic. Papanui Neighbours Day, we've had a few events actually in the ward over the last month or so, and the weather's been good too. So Papanui Neighbours Day was the same weekend actually as the Mairahau Community Day, and the Mairahau Community Day was at Mairahau Primary School, and we had some great photographs, but it didn't make it into the presentation. In fact, it's not there at all. It was there when I looked earlier. It's disappeared now. So, and it was the same day as the Holy Day with the all the different coloured powder and dust. So we had a lot of people turn up that looked like rainbows, which was awesome. The Rutland Street Reserve, this was brought to us by a member of the community. And we are finding that we've got community members coming to us directly more and more. And what's really satisfying is that our staff are actively engaging with Civic and getting these issues sorted, which is fantastic. This was overflowing, getting boggy. There was a safety issue with the amount of water. So this has now not only been cleared up, but we're also looking at a long-term solution with the drains there and putting it on the maintenance schedule, because it wasn't on the maintenance schedule. We had a fantastic presentation from the Edgware Pool Community Group as well, and these are some of the images of this community-driven project. This would not have any operating expenses, as it would be run by the community, which we think is more than admirable when you look at having to cut your cloth accordingly at the moment with the budgets available. This is an indoor pool that wasn't originally in the plan, and this is to enable learn to swim classes, which is a key income stream for the project as well. This is on the site of the original Edgware Pool, which was demolished in the early hours of the morning a long time ago now. I've got a photograph of my now 19-year-old at 2 years of age standing in front of the gates with me on the local paper. So that's what always gives me an idea of how long this project's been going. There could be a small gym area as well, which has been included in this. Now, Apollo Pools are the provider, or the organisation, the company that has done a huge amount of work on this. What I might do, because I know that Pauline can take this away with her, this is an incredible document, hugely professional, and it lists everything in there, including what is being proposed as far as the building materials, the costs. At the moment, the budget would be between $4 and $5 million tops. And I have to say, and I know this is controversial too, but we do have some projects in the city at the moment that are many, many times that. And it would be good to see this kind of project happen in communities, allowing more of these to be built where there isn't any operating expense for the council and it's run by communities. So I'll just pass this around to Pauline. That is not confidential. The QS and project manager has asked that the final cost is fine at 4 to 5 million. There is a trade breakdown in there if that could be kept confidential. I'm just thinking if you take any photographs. And that is about all. We are still dealing with issues with our roads in the ward. We are continuing to have potholes and some flooding and just basically damaged roads, potholes opening up, and that's causing a problem for our community. The CNC project, the Northern Corridor, is now very visible in our ward with fences having gone up and the first part of the work starting on the Innes Road intersection. And that is going to be very challenging for the community over the next 2 years or so, 3 years.
I can just see a whole lot of nods around the table. Would you like to build the Linwood-Woolston pool as well? You know,
have a word with Apollo. You know, to see what they are proposing and what they are able to come up with. Granted, one is an indoor pool and it is a learner's pool, so it is smaller. So this is still an outdoor summer pool,
right? But
it provides an income that they have included in the business plan, which helps it stack up, makes it stack up, and I think that's really important.
Some merit in using one design and putting it somewhere else, or parts of it, to save costs, and they're not averse to that at all.
Yeah. And I mean, this community group, let's acknowledge them. They have spent upwards of $90,000 so far on getting to this point. That has included resource consent applications. It's included, I mean, you all know the hoops you have to jump through when you put a project like this together. And they have, in the face of insurance issues, EQC issues, land issues, this has been a hard hit TC3 area. They have kept going. It has affected their health. And actually, I think this will be a legacy for them, and I'm very proud of how hard they've worked. And I must acknowledge Pauline in that as well. She has maintained that interface between the community board and the council and the group, and that's been very important. Yeah,
well, it's that I do sort of make this point a few times, that the sort of theme of the LTP this time, as we're in this together, that this is something that a community can do so much better, you know, with support rather than having it just provided. I don't know why, but we end up with at least a 20% loading on every contract for the reason that we are the council, and I know central government faces the same thing. Procurement rules that are designed to protect the ratepayers or the taxpayers' interests actually work counter to that in some instances. So the more that we can do in collaboration with communities, and it's a really positive example.
Well, I had a leading city QS and project manager email me last week saying, because they saw it in the local paper that it had been presented to the community board, which is great too. We're also working closely with the local media and raising the profiles. I heard Caroline talk about that this morning. And he rang me from seeing that story and said, we actually live in the area as a family. I would very much like to be involved. Yeah. And that's really cool. And this is a guy whose skills the group could use very much.
Yeah. Well, Dion and I were with the Sydenham Business Association last night, and we had a discussion around Buckham Park, and we said, well, don't be afraid to actually submit that you take it over. I mean, don't hold back. Think of ways that we could engage collaboratively. I'm looking around the table at all these smart, highly networked people, and thinking, gosh, you could help build community at the same time as restore the park to the values that you want in your neighbourhood. So, I mean, I just think it's a new way of thinking and doing.
Communities must have the support, and in order to have the support, there needs to be capacity in the staff as well.
Yeah, that's right.
As long as we plan for it and can manage that, it's a no-brainer.
But
really.
The sky's the limit then.
Yeah.
Any questions? Phil?
Ellie, I just wanted to make sure, if you haven't already done this, had some discussion with the West Braden School pool committee. They built theirs for around $1 million, and to be some good lessons learned. It's been a
Great.
wonderful success. So that it'd be good potential, I'm sure, to collaborate and talk with them.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yep. Any other?
And sorry, I didn't say I'm sitting with Christine Lane either, who's now our community board advisor and has been a governance manager. Sorry, for some time now. Well, it's like a revolving door there, isn't it? Really, I mean, as far as the roles that people do, not people leaving. No, it's not a one-way door.
This is your way of saying welcome, and it
is my way of
to have
saying
you
welcome.
Alongside.
No,
yeah.
she's often messaging me or emailing in the weekend or at nights and stuff like that. So, I know that the guys in the team at the moment are a wee bit under-resourced and are working incredibly hard, so we appreciate that.
Yeah, well, thank you. And
Thank you.
I love your story about engaging around the Bridgestone. I remember when Firestone was there, so it's certainly a good name for the reserve. Any others? Aaron?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, as having been a former member of the board with Ellie and Pauline and Mike, I do congratulate them on sticking, past and present members of sticking with the project in Edgware. It's been a rough road for some of them especially, and so congratulations to them. And I do think if this council's ever to keep their rates close to the rate of inflation, we would have to partner and have more of these projects pulled off, not just with pools but with halls, with all of our facilities, with parks and things. So it is truly the only way forward for us to rein in the rates.
What were the 2 square meterage differences? Because I like to quote you, Aaron, that you used when we went to visit the opening of Fish and Game. So what was theirs per square metre versus a community centre that we built?
Yeah, so ours were coming in, well, depends on which one you're looking at, but are closer to 6,000 a square metre, and theirs was half that.
Right.
The one at Fish and Game, which is a really nice building up on Johns Road. And so it's these partnerings that have to happen for us to rein in our spending. It's the only way around it, I can see.
Well, when you adopt an existing model like that, which is essentially a house that's been redesigned
Flash
as a
house.
community centre, but incredibly simple, and beautiful. I mean, it was a beautiful centre. Didn't take much to add to it to make it really feel like it was a Fish and Game headquarters.
It only had one fault. There was a 1-inch high lip at the wheelchair door, which I wasn't impressed with.
No, but I was incredibly impressed that you cared about that. So,
yeah, but that was their one fault.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Ellie. That was great. David Cartwright. Oh, sorry, with Paul. No, sorry. Pauline and Mike moved, seconded. Put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. Sorry.